everyone, Dr. Rika here. I have just yet another episode of One Lab Your Doctor Will Never Likely Order. And today we're going to be talking about cortisol levels. So some doctors may grab a morning cortisol that's randomly done. But what I'm talking about is doing cortisol levels throughout the day and preferably in the saliva. So we typically would measure that at 8 a.m., kind of at 12 noon in the afternoon, and then an hour or two before bed. And so you'll see in the wording of the Facebook post some of the importance of this. So the basics of cortisol is that it is produced by our adrenal gland, and when we wake up, the cortisol should naturally be high in the morning, and that really dictates how do you feel in the morning. Are you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, or are you dragging yourself out of bed? So this may be a telltale sign that you may have a dysfunctional pattern. And then gradually through the day, it should kind of lower, and that lowering of cortisol is one of the 4 things I see happening chemically in our body to facilitate and allow for sleep. And so cortisol is produced by the adrenal glands, should optimally be elevated in the morning to make us feel nice and energetic. And so what happens is periodically we might be exposed to various stressors. So you step off of a curb and you almost get hit by a car. So boy, that gets your blood going. It also releases cortisol among other chemicals, your fight or flight chemicals, adrenaline and noradrenaline. But after 4 to 5 hours, the cortisol levels should normalize. However, what happens if you are stressed day in and day out? And there's several types of stressors. So you can be physically stressed. For those who are in chronic pain, that's a physical stressor. Or you could be sleep deprived. That's a chronic physical stressor. Or it can be psychosocial stress. So maybe it's the stress of losing a job or a divorce or getting into a fight with a loved one. And when you're chronically stressed, and I'm not talking 1 week or 1 month, I'm talking over weeks or maybe months, is that cortisol level will be elevated all through the day and night. And some people will feel wired but tired. They're always on. They're so wired all through the day. And so that's one level of dysfunction. And then the next thing that may happen if that stress continues on that continual basis is that the adrenal glands say, forget about you. I'm not producing any cortisol. And you'll wake up in the morning and the levels are low. And the minute that you're resting in the evening, the adrenal glands will say, phew, finally, I can take a break. And you get an inappropriate rise of cortisol at night. And so what happens then is you may have trouble falling asleep, or you may have middle of the night awakening. And we know when cortisol levels are elevated, whether it's all day long or at night, it can lead to waking right here in the middle. So that can be a telltale sign that something is awry with your cortisol levels. Now, I didn't feature a 4th level of dysfunction, is where the levels after a long period of time of stress lower and are flatlined. So this week we talked about the importance of cortisol, what the labs should look like normally. And so you can grab one level in the morning. And I like to see my young healthy people around 18 or so, maybe 20. But when someone comes in and they're at 10, it tells me they're likely stressed. And if they're waking up non-refreshed, maybe have middle of the body or abdominal weight gain, or maybe they even feel tired in the afternoon because their levels are too low, then I know something's awry, and I may not even need to get the salivary levels. So that's through saliva. So next week we're going to talk about what we can do to regulate this dysfunction once it happens. So that'll be my next video. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's rendition of One Lab Your Doctor Will Likely Never Order.